Hello, this is Steve, your YouTube English teacher, back in September, back at school, ready to start the course, ready to meet my goals for the year. Hope you can do the same, B1, B2, C1, mainly B2 and C1 on this channel. Contact me for private B1 classes. Anyway, we're starting with a little speaking activity that I did in a class over summer that is inspired from the Doughboys podcast, great little fast food podcast if you want to listen to something fun in English. And it's an activity that I have used in class, I will use in class. As always, it's useful for your C1, B2 speaking exam, and I've also added a little bit of grammar to make a more complete class. Anyway, let's get into this. It's called One Must Go, and the basic idea is, in the exam, you're going to have a question and different options. Here, the question's always going to be the same. One of these things must go, must be eliminated from your life. You're going to give it up forever. So you imagine in a class, this is a great activity to talk about in pairs, very similar to B2-C1 speaking part 3, where you say, oh, well, I drink a lot of tea, and tea is really good if you're feeling stressed and you want to relax after a long day at work, but without too much, and so on. What do you think? You have this conversation. So you're basically having this conversation on this question of giving something up forever. So you can try this in pairs, in groups, by yourself and think what you'd say. And of course, I'll give you a model answer. So imagine this is the question. Here's a nice little answer, and let's think about why this is a good B2-C1 answer. I would say something like, let's put a timer on for 20 seconds because we really want like a 20-second limit per turn. Okay, shall I start? Because for me, this one's pretty simple. I hardly drink tea or coffee. So between the two, I guess I'd give up coffee as I can't stand the taste. At least fruit tea with lots of sugar is not too bad. But I could never drink coffee again with ease. What about you? And then we continue the conversation. I took my 20 seconds, I made a point, and pretty clear. And what made it a good answer? Well, what do you think? What would you say here? The examiner would notice, would say, oh, this person has a good discourse management. They've organized their answer well. They have some nice range of vocab. They have some different bits of grammar. Well, here's what stood out for me. I say something is pretty simple. I don't just say it's simple, I say it's pretty simple. This is a very natural way of adding nuance to your opinion. Don't just saying it's good, but saying it's pretty good, it's fairly good, it's quite good. And it's very common, obviously English people do this all the time. The same for hardly. Can you use your adverbs of frequency or infrequency correctly? I hardly do something. I barely do something. I almost never, seldom do something. Between the two, this is a really nice way of comparing different options from the speaking part 3. This is a nice trick you can do. If you're running out of things to say, make a comparison between two of them and maybe something will pop into your head. So I compare tea and coffee. I guess, what am I doing here? I'm not saying I think. I'm saying I guess, I suppose. I'm varying my way of giving my opinion. I can't stand the taste. Lovely expression. This is the kind of thing that's on like the grammar exam, the reading exam. This is what they expect or want you to be able to use. Obviously, again, giving your opinion. I can't stand it. I can't bear it. Not just saying I don't like, but giving a greater variety of vocab there. Same here, I'd say not too bad. Don't just say I like it, say it's not too bad. It's pretty decent. Different ways of saying the same thing. Have these ready to use to show your level. That's the whole point of what we're doing, isn't it? It's not really, they don't really care what you think about tea and coffee. They want to see that you can demonstrate this level of English, this range, this fluency. And that's about it there. You can see, obviously I asked the question. If you subscribe to my channel, I've taught you this before, you know how to do this. Part 3, the important thing is having this conversation. No monologues. This shouldn't look like a monologue. It should be, shall I start? I'm interacting. What about you? And then I listen to what they say. So I am making it a monologue, not a monologue. All right, as I said, you've just seen this answer. What do you remember from this answer? We have got 4 questions. Question 1, use of English part 1. As you can see here, use of English part 1, choose the best word. That should go here. Should be very easy because we just read it like 5 times. Question 2, there's no option. It's use of English part 2, a little grammatical word to complete this sentence. Question 3, transform the word I give you, use of English part 3, so it fits the gap. And question 4, complete the second sentence so it means the same as the first sentence, using the word in bold, using 5 words maximum. Let's say it's B2, 5 words maximum. although it's a possible C1 question. Pause the video, do these 4 grammar questions that I'm giving you as a little bonus. And of course the answers are simple, something that is easy, straightforward, not complicated, is simple. Question 2, at least, it's a common phrase, isn't it? At least fruit tea is good. Question 3, you do something with ease, that is the noun of the adjective easy. And question 4, if I drink much less Coca-Cola, then I drink far more chocolate milk, right? So it's the logic of it. I drink far more chocolate milk. To emphasize the comparison, we say far more, and we still need to say than, and we need to make sure that we're comparing them in the correct way. So there we go, the 2 marks separated by the little bar. As you know, watch my videos on Use of English Part 4. I've got lots of videos on that. Let's do the same thing again. I would say you can have different questions on this. Which one of these would you give up forever and why? Have the same conversation. This is the one we just did as an example. You could also talk about the various preparations of potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, and so on. Obviously, I'm British, so I call them chips and crisps. But this could be chips and fries if you're American, to make it more complicated. Which one would you give up? And then desserts, which one would you give up? Oof, everyone has a different answer. Very interesting conversation you can have to, again, demonstrate your level of English. So you can try those. But as I said, let's do one more example on a different topic. It's a more modern topic. It's studying, learning, education, and so on. Which one of these would you least mind giving up forever? Which one has to go? Which one must go? Pause the video, do it yourself, especially if you're in a class. And then let's try my little model answer again. I would say something like, ooh, now that's a tough one. What do you think? I get nothing from my partner. Well, I'm trying to think which one I could find a replacement for with other tools. I suppose I'd get rid of Google. I could use something else for email and searching, but the rest are too vital. What would you say? So again, little 20 seconds, clear point. What's good in this answer? Well, that's a tough one. Obviously, again, different, varied vocab, not just saying difficult from the Latin, which most European speakers might use a Latin word. No, let's say it's a tough one, or a tricky one, or an awkward one. Nice vocab. Well, help your partner. If your partner doesn't say anything and they don't know what to say, jump in. Well, we don't need these long silences. You're not dominating the conversation because obviously you try to ask them a question twice. If they're not saying anything, make your point and then continue the conversation, asking questions, responding to what they say. Again, I suppose I'm not just saying I think or I would do it, I suppose. Something else, this is just a really natural way of saying it, isn't it? Not I could use another thing or other, no. Something else is the natural, correct way of saying it. And then I also like vital. Don't say important. These are like common words that people tend to say all the time, maybe because they come from Latin, maybe because they're easy. But show me a bit of variety. Say it's vital, say it's key, say it's crucial. Show me that range. The examiners will notice it and say, oh, they've got that range of vocab that we want to see. Do the use of English. They are not in order. As you can see, question 3 is use of English part 3, use of English part 1, use of English part 2, and use of English part 4. Pause the video, answer them. And the answers we will do in order. Number 1 is going to be tools. We are talking, these are all tools for learning, aren't they? The other words don't really fit. Teachers are not devices. Paper books are not devices. We're not really talking about devices. Number 2, what's the expression that means discard something, do away with something? It is get rid of something. Number 3, the noun for replace is replacement. And number 4, we know the grammar we want. It's so important that, it's too important, it's so important that going without it is unthinkable now. So we also have to use the gerund. That was a nice little question if you did it in 5 words. If you did it in 6 and said to go without, it's probably okay, but I'm trying to do it in 5. Okay, and again, we can have more questions like this. This time the topic is the media. Which one of these would you do without? Which social media? I guess that is a difficult question for many people. I'm on TikTok now, by the way. If you want to follow me on TikTok, search Focus on Cambridge. which TV genre, and the question we just had, which instructional method would you get rid of? And we have lots more questions that you could also look at. In town, which one of these shops would you give up? Very difficult for Spanish people because this is an important department store. This is where all the teenagers go to get their fast fashion clothes. Where would you never go again? Watch my TikTok video and the short that I'll publish in a bit to see some tips on this one. Which fast food and which supermarket? Again, this is a very Spanish thing, but same for travel. Pause the video. If you want more activities like these, you can do these. And the same for at home. Some of these are very fun, which, can you imagine living without a kitchen? You have a shared kitchen maybe. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See you next week.